Hi, I'm Mark Duncan and you're on LVI TV, your weekly dental news source. In the worldwide What Were You Thinking news, a couple stories jumped out. Last month, the online edition of the New England Journal of Medicine reported a patient in Italy who was admitted for a sinus infection and facial pain. Apparently 2 years prior, the patient had a maxillary implant placed, and then later on close examination by the dentist, the implant was absent. Obviously it went someplace, but apparently they didn't look to find out where. So you fast forward 2 years later, she started having sinus infections and facial pain. The physician took a closer examination, found out it was in the left ethmoid sinus. Anyway, after removing the implant, the patient recovered quickly, is doing really well now, but I suppose a centimeter-long titanium booger would sure mess your day up. Meanwhile, in Germany, a dentist sued the administrative court to reverse the court's decision to remove his license. They had suspended his license for 8 months because apparently a patient under his care was put under general anesthesia, had 20 teeth removed, and the patient woke up to quite a surprise. Asked the dentist why, one thing led to another, and it turns out that the patient not only didn't need to have those teeth removed, was not aware. So they removed his license for 8 months for battery. After this, he challenged the court's decision. They investigated the case again, ended up levying a big fine and drug charges of all things. Take-home message, in the words of Mr. Mackey,
drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs.
And then, of course, make sure you get informed consent. Here in the good old US of A, we have a story about the dumbest thing that you can do. If you put yourself in a position where the penalties of your crime are so completely overshadowed by the crime itself, then you have to be a complete idiot to commit that crime. Of course, if you're simple enough to go ahead and cross the line, then it's no surprise you might get caught in the act. A funeral home employee was arrested in LA County for stealing gold crowns from the people he was taking care of. Well, obviously, he works at a funeral home. The people he was taking care of probably wouldn't miss them. But his master plan really wasn't terribly well thought out. What he did was he sold those crowns to local pawn shops, trying to reclaim some money for the gold in those dental crowns. And so he sold about 125 crowns, got about $50 a pop for them for a whopping total of $6,200. To add to his pile of loot, he also stole an urn and some medallions from his, well, now former employer. Those were worth about $1,000, and so he had this pure, unadulterated joyride with this bounty of $7,500. He was charged with more than 24 felony counts, including possession of a controlled substance, this is methamphetamines, removal and possession of dental gold from human remains, grand theft by embezzlement, and 23 counts of second-degree commercial burglary. Maximum penalty for all this was 19 years in prison, but I suppose he got off pretty easy with only 7 years. Wow, are you kidding? Gotta wonder, what were they thinking? Now, there are some real-world applications that may make a difference in our practices. For sure, we need to fully disclose when things don't go as intended. If you get an implant lodged in the sinus, get it out. Informed consent is a huge and important part of providing care, so make sure your patients are fully aware of the decisions they're making. And then the sad reality is more than half of us are going to be the victim of embezzlement. Since our patients are alive, the reality is our team will probably steal from us. So, have you been the victim of the very dental team you care so much about? Please feel free to share your stories below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to LVI TV, and I'll see you next time. I'm Mark Duncan.